You're live. It says on my computer screen, it says you're live. So that's a good sign. It also on my computer screen says everything is working properly. So that's a good sign as well. Just give me a few seconds here to check everything out. We'll start in about 11 seconds. Awesome. Starting in 5 seconds. I hope everyone's ready to learn a little bit about creativity. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about creativity. I am excited to do this lesson this morning because being creative is something that just makes the world a better place. The more creativity we have, the more beautiful the world is. And creativity is basically making something new or making something that looks really cool or making something that people haven't seen before. I think all of us have a little bit of an ability to be creative, and everything we do makes the world better. I try to be as creative as possible when I make my English lessons, but certainly creativity is a cool topic for an English lesson, and I'm excited to teach you about it. Hey, before we get started, a couple things. One is I've had a crazy week. I think this lesson will go well, but I can't promise you a top quality English lesson. It'll probably be really good, but school started this week. So I went and taught on Wednesday and Thursday yesterday. So I'm a little, what's a good word for it? Frazzled. When you're frazzled, it means you've been really, really busy for a day or two and you're still thinking logically, but you can't, I just need a nap this afternoon. That's what I need to do. So anyways, welcome to this English lesson. It might not be as high a quality lesson as Bob the Canadian normally does, but I will try my best. I certainly had a good night's sleep. You can tell that I'm frazzled because I'm already rambling. I was about to tell you that I also went to the farmer's market last night and sold flowers with Jen. But yeah, what should I do now? Say hi to everybody and get the lesson started? Let's do that. Hi to Lolly, Patana, Key Park, Mode Eggs, Eugene from Etobicoke. Thanks to Dave, the Canadian, for being here. Hi to Sam and Sis, Harry 300. I'm scrolling back here. Vitor, Freddie Wolf, bonjour Freddie. Apple the Frog, Renata. I know Ruslan is here somewhere. Paco-san. So many familiar people. Mode Eggs. I think I'm starting to say names twice now. But hi to everyone. Welcome to this lesson. Hi to Yaroslav as well. And I think that's all the highs I'm going to do. I think I'm going to switch gears and remind you to use the chat for fun English conversations. Please don't speak in other languages in the chat. It can be tempting, but the chat is also a source or place for learning English. Not only can you listen to me, but you can have little English conversations with the people around you, and that's helpful as well. Remember, if you have a question, use the form that's linked. There's a link to a form, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. And if you're one of the 285 people watching, welcome. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Let's get this lesson started. Creativity. So how would I define creativity? What would I say creativity is? Creativity is when you have new ideas, and those ideas lead to you doing new things that are interesting or look beautiful or are artistic, or even you could use creativity to solve problems. You know, you could say he has a lot of creativity when it comes to solving problems. So it's just a way of thinking that helps you have new ideas, to think of new ways to do stuff. This person must have a lot of creativity. They had an ice cream cone and they saw a cloud that looked like ice cream. And because of their creativity, they decided to put the cone so it looked like the cloud was sitting in it and then take a picture. So they have a lot of creativity and they've created this beautiful image for us to see. So once again, what is creativity? It's the ability to think of new things, to have new ideas, to think of new ways to do things, usually that haven't been done before. So, and you would call that person creative. So when you know someone like this person who is maybe really artistic, who likes to draw and do creative things, we would say the person is creative. They're a very creative person. I wouldn't say I'm a creative person, but I try to be creative when I make my English lessons. I try to think of a way, how am I going to make an English lesson video in a creative way so that people enjoy watching it and so that they remember it. So a person who is has a lot of creativity, we would say they are creative. Of course, to be creative, you need to have a good imagination. Your imagination is your ability to think of things in your mind. It's your ability to think of something before it exists. So let's say you were going to do a painting. Before you do a painting, you might in your mind think about what you want it to look like. You would use your imagination. Let's say you're going to decorate a room in your house differently. You might close your eyes or you might look around the room and use your imagination to think about what it could look like. You use a lot of different English verb tenses when you use your imagination. This could look different. What could this look like? I should change this room. I would change this room, but I don't have a lot of money. You use your imagination to think about what something could look like. And we would describe a person who uses their imagination a lot as imaginative. Let me repeat that word. It's a little hard to pronounce. Imaginative, imagination, imaginative. I barely say the first vowel, don't I? Imaginative. I teach a lot of students who are imaginative. Sometimes we do projects and they use their imagination to create something very, very cool. They're very imaginative and they create a lot of imaginative projects. Someone who uses their imagination a lot, someone who has a lot of creativity, we would often use this phrase to describe them. They have a lot of original ideas. When you have an original idea, it means you think of a new way to do something. Original ideas are very, very cool. If you've ever worked with someone who has a lot of original ideas, who comes up with original ideas, that's the phrase we would use. He comes up with a lot of original ideas. You could also say unique ideas, but original ideas are just really, really neat. A lot of apps that we use are a result of someone having an original idea. Once someone must have thought, what if I made an app just for photographs? That was an original idea, and then eventually we had Instagram. So an original idea is a new, unique idea. Particularly if someone has a lot of creativity when it comes to painting or sketching or creating sculptures. Someone who is very, very artistic in terms of creativity. We would say they're artistic. There, I've just described them using the word I'm teaching you. So an artist, someone who makes art, we would say is artistic. Artistic people often have original ideas. Artistic people often are very creative and have a lot of creativity. So I'm trying to weave all the words into the phrases I'm using. So artistic, I am not artistic. I will claim that I sometimes have original ideas. I would claim that I am a little bit creative. I think I have a good imagination, but I'm not artistic. I can't paint. I can't draw. I can't, even on the musical side, I'm not a musical person, but definitely there are enough artists in the world to make the world a beautiful place. So this phrase is used to describe someone who's good at something. And I did cover this in a short Tuesday lesson. When you say someone has a way with something, it means that they're very creative and good at it. Jen has a way with flowers when she's arranging bouquets. She's very creative when she arranges flowers. You could say someone has a way with words. When they write stories, they write in a very creative way. They know how to put words together to make something beautiful and creative. So that's just a little phrase we use to describe someone who has a lot of creativity. When you are creative, sometimes you need inspiration. Something else that's beautiful or something else that happens in your life or something you read can be inspiration. It can help you have new ideas. You're not copying what you see. You're not copying what you read, but you might listen to a song and you might get inspiration from the song to write a poem. So you can, if you are a creative person, you can get inspiration from a beautiful picture or from a walk in nature. You could get inspiration from walking in nature as well. And then a variation of that is to be inspired. When you say something is inspired, it means it's, I would just say, very cool. And it's obvious the person was very creative when they made it. Whoever wrote this play was probably very inspired. Sometimes you read a book and you say the author was very inspired. The movie was an inspired movie, which means energy and creativity came into that movie at some point. I'm not explaining this one well. You might want to look this one up to get a better definition of it. And then, of course, we have a source of inspiration. Going for a walk in nature can be a source of inspiration. A source is the place something comes from. For me, a source of inspiration is simply going for a walk outside. Most of my English lesson ideas come while I'm going for a walk in nature. It's my source of inspiration. Some people have music as a source of inspiration. Some people just need to have a conversation with other people, and that might be their source of inspiration. But it certainly is something that lets them be creative because it gives them energy. It makes them think about things differently. I think there's a quote here: all dreams are within reach. All you have to do is keep moving towards them. And if I put this in English learner terms, English fluency is within reach. You just need to keep practicing your reading, writing, listening, and speaking. There we go. Hey, let's do a few questions here. Let me get the question form up on the screen. As I do that, I should have a sip of water. I found that I talked a lot yesterday and the day before at school, so I need to make sure I stay hydrated. Let me get the first question here. Let's see. Vitor. Hi, Vitor. Where do you find more space to be creative? Here on YouTube or in the place you work, school? Creativity always sparks my interest. Thanks, Bob. It depends on the time of year. I find in the winter, I'm more creative at school. And I find in the spring, summer, and fall, I'm more creative when it comes to YouTube. It might be because I make most of my English video lessons outside. And in the winter, I just want to get out, make the video, and get back in because it's so cold. So I think it's seasonal. In the winter, I'm at school. It's all warm and cozy. It's a really nice place to think of creative things. From Yaroslav says, morning, the wisest teacher, Bob. It's rather cool in Ukraine. Oh, like weather-wise, I think you're mentioning. How are you doing? Pretty good. Question, do creative professions, are creative professions popular in Canada? We're just going to change one word. Compared to technical, if we compare it to technical. Thank you. Yes, but it depends on how good the economy is. So it looks like we're entering into a recession or a mini recession. So the economy is slowing down. That's when creative jobs aren't as popular. But certainly when things are going well, musicians, people who play in bands, artists all really benefit. But when we're in a recession, I think it goes the other way. But I would say the vast majority of people are not in creative professions. So let's see here. Renata says, good morning, Bob. What inspires you to do these lessons for us? I love learning vocabulary from your lessons. Thank you for teaching us. Have a nice day. Bonne journée. So my life. I try to go through my week as if I'm one of you learning English. So at certain moments in my week, things will happen. And the first thing I think about is, do I know how to describe this in French? I did say French because I'm still a French learner. I've spent many, many years learning French. So this week I needed to be very creative when I designed my lessons to start school. And then right away I think, do I know all the words in French to describe creativity. And if I think not really, then I think this would make a good English lesson. And then I find all the words and make them. So it's from my life. If something goes well or if something goes wrong, I make a lesson out of it. And no problem. You're welcome on the thank you for teaching statement as well. Let's see here. From Ruslan. Hello, dear Teacher Bob. Do creative workers receive some bonuses in Canada for achieving outstanding results for the company? Best wishes, sir. It depends on where you work. At my job as a teacher, there are no bonuses, at least no financial bonuses for being creative. The bonus at my job, if you're creative, is students are interested in what you're teaching, and it makes the job easier. There are some jobs, though, where being creative certainly would come with bonuses. From Stas, hello, no question today. I just hope you are doing great and wanted to say my wife and I have been watching your lessons for 2 years. Thanks for the work. Take care. Stas, that's awesome. Thank you very much. That's 2 years of listening to me. I hope I'm not getting boring yet. But that is cool. I appreciate that. That's very awesome. Thanks for learning English, and thanks for learning English with me. From Zhang or Shang, I usually say these names wrong, sorry. Do we use arts or art when we are talking about the subject? Thanks. So students take art class. People make art. When we use the word arts, we're talking about more than just drawing and sketching. If a student is in the arts at university, it means they're probably taking classes on sketching and painting, maybe a little bit of music, maybe even some acting. Those are the arts. Sometimes we call them the visual arts, sometimes the dramatic arts. But when you're studying just one, we say they're in art class. Or if you are creating a painting, we would say they are making art. From Kurdish, getting ahead here, Kurdish, but that's okay. Hi, Uncle Bob. What's the? I'm going to add a the there. What's the difference between creativity, innovation, and invention? Can you explain in a simple way how can we use them in sentences? I will in just a little bit because those words are coming up. Creativity is just a general word for having new ideas and thinking of new ways of doing things. That would be creativity. And innovation is similar. An invention, you're usually making something. You're actually not just thinking of it, you're inventing it. Let's see here. Next question, what do you prefer, English or Australian? I do like the Australian accent. It's pretty cool. This is from Lelouch. Let's see here. And then from plain mode, no frills. Hi, Mr. Bob. Do you think we should always try to be creative when we do something? Or is it sometimes best to just go by the book? Have a drink, shake off that nervous energy. That is what I have. It is nervous energy. Not for this live stream, but the nervous energy that comes from starting a new school year. Okay, so this is a good question, and I have what I think is the best answer. I like creativity in bursts, but I like day-to-day life to be very routine. So let me explain a little bit better. Should we always try to be creative? No. You should have a routine, and you should have a system, and you should be organized. You should do all the things that aren't so exciting or creative as a baseline. And then you should have bursts of creativity along the way. If you're creative all the time, life can be a little bit difficult because you still have to pay the bills. You have to buy groceries. You have to do all the normal things in life. If you're only organized and scheduled, life can be a bit boring. So I like to have a mix. In fact, this is how I organize my school year. I design my classes usually in the summer, and then I'm not really creative during the school year. And then in the summer, all of the creative ideas I had, I kind of think through the summer, and then I use them the next year. So I organize my creativity. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. Ahmed says, hello, sir. My question is how English people can write without they know how to spell. For example, the word Q, the pronunciation is just Q, but how they know the spelling. Well, sometimes we don't. That's a word that I have trouble spelling. I write a Q and a U, and then I'm like, what comes next? This is really hard. So first of all, most English speakers know how to spell most of the words, but not all of them. And secondly, we do learn spelling in school as a class. So students who are age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe up to age 11, in school, you will learn spelling. Usually a couple times a week, you will have spelling class and you will practice spelling your words. So that's one of the ways that people know. Ario says, please tell us about your creativity. Other than making YouTube videos, I know you have a lot of creativity. I like to write. So I'm not artistic in the sense, I don't like drawing. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not good at drawing. I'm not a painter. None of that really excites me. I love looking at art. I love reading comic books that are hand-drawn. I love seeing sculpture, but I'm not an artist. But I like writing. So I do write a little bit. And I probably will start to write a bit more as time goes by. Usually I like to write stories about my life that have meaning. So maybe I should do more of that for all of you. Let's see here. Azam says, hi teacher, good afternoon from Iran. Could you use color when watering your farm to create new flower colors? We don't do that. All our flowers are natural. Some people do put their flowers in dye after they cut them, so the color changes, but we try to keep everything as natural as possible. We like it that way. Last question from Henry, and we'll get back to the lesson. Hi, Teacher Bob. Do you jot, J-O-T? Do you jot down notes on paper or type in your cell phone whenever you have good ideas to make creative videos? Thank you. Yes. As soon as I have an idea, the most common thing I do is I email it to myself. So I grab my phone or sit at a computer and I email it to myself. Then I take that idea and I put it into a spreadsheet. Right now, believe it or not, there are 17 video ideas in a spreadsheet, maybe 18. I had another one yesterday. And then I start to put details beside it whenever I go through. So yes, initially I email myself. So I find the best way to do it. Hey, if you're one of the 406 people watching, don't forget to click the subscribe button. Let's get back to the lesson. We're moving along nicely here. I think it should work. A muse. So a muse is a person or thing that gives you inspiration. Sorry, I forget the name of this person. I should probably look it up. I believe she was French, but this is Mick Jagger. And this lady was his muse, you could say, at one point in his life. It was a person who maybe he was in love with, maybe he was just fascinated by her, but it inspired him to write music. So a muse can be a person, it can be a thing, but it's something that gives you inspiration to create something, art or music or something else. Sorry, I can't remember her name. I apologize. Should I look it up quickly? No, we'll just move on. You guys can figure it out. Hey, we describe people sometimes as being right brain or left brain. When we describe someone as being right brain, we mean that they are very, very creative. A lot of people who go into the arts, we say, are very right brain. They use the right side of their brain, and that is supposedly the more creative side of the brain. The left side of the brain is supposedly more organized and logical and does more math. I think people who use both sides of their brain are probably really intelligent because they can be very logical and they can also be very creative. But we would sometimes describe a creative person as being very right brain. You could say right brained as well, but right brain would work. So this is not the word novel as in a book. This is the word novel as in new. So you can have a novel idea. And I think the last time we saw this word was with the coronavirus, wasn't it? It was a novel virus. When something is novel, it means it's new. You could say, oh, he's a cool guy. He's always having novel ideas. That doesn't mean he's having ideas about books he wants to write. It means that the person is having new and unique ideas. Crowdfunding was a very novel idea. It was a new idea. Let's get lots of people to help fund something. So it was a novel idea. It was a new idea. It's just a different word for new. Inventive. So when I think about inventive, someone who's inventive, it's someone who has cool new ideas, but is able to design and make something with that idea. So at market, people have tents or canopies, and when it's windy, they blow away. But the guy beside us was very inventive. He made special weights that he can bolt his canopy to. I know it's a little complex description, but I'm using inventive because he had an idea and he used that idea to make something. It doesn't have to be a physical object. You could say, he's really inventive. He makes cool lessons. But usually when I use inventive, it's an idea and a thing. He is really inventive. He designed and made a new kind of chair. He's very inventive. He thought of a new way to make a bicycle. He created a new mousetrap. He's very inventive. So the idea and the thing. Innovative is when you do the same, but you create something really cool and new that a lot of people like. This is a little phone holder. I don't have my phone right now. I don't have one, but I think this is very innovative. It's when someone looks at a problem and thinks of a very simple solution. You could say this is inventive as well, but innovative, I think, has wider appeal. You can be inventive and make your own little things, but when you do something innovative, it means a lot of other people want to do it as well. It has, I keep saying, broader appeal. A lot of people see it and want to do it as well. So a slight difference in my mind when I describe the two. Ingenuity. So ingenuity is definitely related to the ability to not only do something new, but to solve a problem when you do it. I should say ingenuity a few times, shouldn't I? Ingenuity. This was a shipping container. It was a large metal container that would go on ships. And there are a lot of shipping containers in the world. And some people have a lot of ingenuity. They know how to take a shipping container and turn it into a small house. So that takes a lot of ingenuity. When you have ingenuity, it's being creative, but also having a lot of skills to do something. In order to do this, you need to know how to cut through metal. You need to know how to install windows. You need to know how to work with wood. So you're having a new idea and using a lot of skills to make it a reality. A lot of these things are interchangeable, though. Like you could say he's very inventive. That was very innovative. This person has a lot of ingenuity. They basically all mean slightly different versions of creativity. Gifted. So when we say someone is gifted, we generally mean they are very, very intelligent in a certain area. And they usually have a lot of creativity with that intelligence. So someone who is gifted in math probably also has a lot of creativity. It means they are really, really good at math. When the teacher or professor explains a math problem, they understand it right away. I was not gifted in math. I could do math, but at a certain point, it was very, very challenging for me. But I had a friend who was very gifted. He could look at a math problem and solve it in his head most of the time, and I didn't even know where to start. So gifted, extremely intelligent, and creative. Prolific. Sometimes creative people make a lot of things. So a prolific writer would write a lot of stories and would write a lot of books. A prolific artist wouldn't just make one painting a year. They would make 12 or 20 paintings a year. When you are creative and when you are prolific, it means you create or make a lot of things. So once again, a prolific author would just write a lot of books. A prolific artist or painter would simply make a lot of paintings. They would be very, very prolific. Sometimes you need to think outside the box. I haven't heard this phrase for a little while, but it is a common English phrase. When you think outside the box, it means you try to think of a new way to do something. You try to think of a different way to do something. You have to be very creative. Maybe you want to think of a faster way to do something. Maybe a more efficient way to do something. Maybe a cheaper way to do something. You want to think outside the box. If you always do something the same way, at some point you might want to think outside the box and think of a completely different way to do something. Always a good idea. You certainly, when you use your imagination, you're trying to picture something in your head. So we often will say to people when we want them to be creative, sometimes I'll say to students, I need you to create a drawing and I need you to label the drawing with different French words. I would do this in French class. By the way, you could do that in English as well. I would say, so picture something in your head and then try to draw it. When you picture something in your head, I usually close my eyes and then you try to see it in your mind. So if I say, close your eyes and picture a cat in your head, you try to picture what a cat looks like. When you think of something new, sometimes you try to picture it in your head and you try to think about it that way before you actually make it or do something with it. Someone who is very creative and can see the future a little bit, we would say is a visionary. People often say that Steve Jobs, the person who started Apple, when he was running the company, at times he was a visionary, or he was very visionary. So as a visionary, he could kind of see that people would want smartphones. He could see that people wanted an iPod. So he could kind of not predict the future, but he could see what people might want in a year or two and then have people design it. So a visionary is very creative in the sense that they can imagine what the future might look like. Hey, we're going to do members only chat. For those of you that don't know what that is, first of all, don't leave. The lesson will start again in about 9 or 10 minutes, but I am going to answer questions directly from members in the chat for a little bit. Let me turn that mode on. And once again, the lesson will continue. You can learn from the questions that members ask as well. And we're happy to have you for the next 8 or 9 minutes if you're not a member. But if you are a member, thank you so much. I do really appreciate you. It makes me feel more like this is a community when I have members, that I'm not just doing something for a lot of people who I don't recognize or know. I actually recognize your names. It's good to see you when I do live streams and in the comments. So if you are a member, you can ask a question in the chat. By the way, you may have noticed that this week I haven't replied to comments on either of my channels. That will resume once life settles back down to normal. Leticia says, I'm a little bit late today. I'm a little late today. No problem. This class has no attendance. You can come late and leave early and I won't even notice. But good to see you, Leticia. Mode says, give a thumbs up to the visionary leader of the Bobbies. Thanks, Mode, very much for that. I did reply to Mode's comment, I think, the other day, because that was in the short lesson today, I think. Juan de Prado says, hi, Teacher Bob. How are you? I'm good. Do you think it is possible to improve creativity with courses or other resources? Thanks a lot. Yes. I think if you have the right teacher, and if you take the right course, I think you can learn to be more creative. You can at least learn to identify what inspires you. You can learn to use rest and relaxation and exercise and healthy eating to create a life where it's just easier to be creative. One of the things that really is hard, if you're too busy, it's hard to be creative. If you don't eat healthy, it's hard to be creative. If you don't exercise or sleep well, it's hard to be creative. So you certainly can take classes where you can learn how to take care of yourself so you can be more creative in those moments. Let's see. John Wedge says, hello, Bob. No question today. Have a nice Friday and a nice weekend. You too, John. Thank you. Sam the Taiwanese says, hi, teacher. How do you see the differences in creativity between your children's generation and your generation? So one of the things that I find kind of sad and I don't mean to complain about young people. Young people are awesome. But here's what I see. If I say in class, as a simple example, if I said draw a cat, students will almost always look for a picture of a cat on the internet, and then they'll try to duplicate that drawing. So that's what I see happening more. They don't just sit and think, oh, how would I draw a cat? Instead, they want to find examples of how other people drew the cat. They'll have it on their computer screen, and then they'll draw a cat while looking at the drawing of the cat. That's what I see, and I'm a little worried about that. So good question, Sam. John says hi to Leticia. Marwanto says, hello, Mr. Bob. How do you keep your creativity in your videos? All of the things I just said. I need to eat healthy, exercise, get enough sleep, and not be busy. If I can do that, then I generally will have ideas and creative ideas. And it's kind of funny. I feel like maybe I am a bit right brain, left brain, because my right brain will have an idea, and then a couple days later, my left brain will take the idea and create an organized lesson out of it. So I think maybe both sides of my brain are firing at the same time. Freddie Wolf, hi Bob. I hope you are having a great day. To be creative, have Jen and you ever tried crossbreeding flower types to create and obtain new flower types or new colors? Thanks a lot, Bob. You're great. No, but it's something Jen would like to try. Unfortunately, we're too busy just growing and cutting and selling flowers, but we would love to try doing something like that someday. That would be fun. Noriko, no question today, sir, because it's so advanced for me, but I thank you for doing a live stream, take a nap, and veg out afterwards. Well, I do have to go to work today, Noriko, but I will do that when I get home later. Let's see here. Leah Gold, hi, Teacher Bob. No question today, just wanted to say thank you for your great job. No problem. Ralph says, it was always my profession at school and university to come late. Every teacher, even at university, knew my name within weeks. That changed until today, but I always smiled a bit about it. That's a good way to be memorable, but not a good way to learn. Yaroslav says, what is your creative power, the wisest superhero, Bob? I would say I like being able to make connections between things. So I don't know if that's a creative power, but what I will say is what I enjoy is when I have an idea, I like thinking of and connecting it to a lot of other ideas and then making a lesson out of it. A good example would be the last videos describing someone who's good at something. So I'll hear the phrase, to be good at something. And I really like, it's like a puzzle for me. I like figuring out, well, what are all the other phrases? And then I like to make a lesson out of it. Or next week's lesson is about how to describe something that's old. And then I was excited because I wanted to find all the things on my property that fit the phrase. So you'll see on Tuesday, by the way. Anyways, superpower, I don't know, but I do like connecting the dots, we would say. Modags, I wanted to send you something that has to do with creativity at the beginning of this week, but I thought I should wait until this busy week is finished. Thank you. Yes, it was a busy week. I even have emails I haven't read yet, which is rare for me. Lolly Lolly says, think outside the box equals penser hors du cadre, outside the frame. Ah, yes. Nice. Leticia, hello, John Wedge. Maria C. Hi, Bob. I'm not very creative, so I can't think of a question to ask you about this topic. I agree with you. It's good to have a routine and to be creative too. One doesn't exclude the other. That's true. Because I actually know a couple really creative people who have trouble managing their money. So they're very creative, but they're not very practical, we would say in English. Let's see here. Beth says, hi, Teacher Bob. I have a friend who has a banana farm, and I was inspired by her to make my own. Can I say my friend as a muse? I wouldn't use it. I would say you were inspired by her, exactly how you said it. Muse is a little more unique. It's more for like a rock star or a super popular artist. In everyday life, we would just say that I was inspired by you to do my own thing. Harry, hello, Bob. Did you ever draw anything on your house's wall? I think that is one of the things that shows us about creativity. No, I've never done that. As a child, I think I drew things on the wall, but I have never done that. That would be cool, though. Guhan says hello. Hi, Guhan. Good to see you again. John talking to Leticia. Mode says acting out English phrases is Mr. Bob's creative power. Role playing too. Yes, and sound effects. And I should do a video where I do different voices, but I don't know. We'll see. Cecilia says, hello, Bob. Thank you so much for this amazing lesson. I think reading fiction makes us more creative. Do you agree? Yes. For me, I mentioned being outside as a source of inspiration. For me, listening to music and reading fiction is also a source of inspiration for me. Definitely. A lot of times at night, if I'm tired, I will listen to music, and that will give me energy and ideas. Yaroslav says, connecting things is the hard stuff. Yes, it can be hard to connect things. I think that's why I like it. I like puzzles. So Leticia says to John Wedge, I'm very good. Thanks. Cool to see a conversation happening between two of you. Hey, I'm going to turn off members only chat. It might be a little bit early, but if I see a member question still, I will make sure I take care of it. Let me just find the spot where I click this button. There we go. As I do that, I do want to say thank you once again to all of you with green names in the chat, all of you with crowns. By the way, if you're not a member, please think about it. There's a join button. If you are a member, you get an extra video on Wednesdays. You get a little, almost a lesson plan for the week on Monday mornings, where I kind of suggest a few things you could do during the week to practice your English. But I do appreciate it. So thank you. Cecilia says, thank you so much. And John says, hey, Bob, I hope to see a video of you making the sound of things. Yes, Mode suggested that a few weeks ago. It is on the list. I just need a little extra time when I make that one to make it really, really good. Okay, where are we? We're going to get back to the lesson. I will do questions from the rest of you in about 10 minutes, but let's finish this lesson off. Sometimes we will describe someone as a creative genius. So a genius is someone who's really, really smart. They have a really, really high IQ, we would say. There's someone who is just way smarter than me. You would say they are a genius. When someone is really artistic or really good at thinking of new ideas, someone who's really creative, we might say they're a creative genius. If you work with someone who's a creative genius, and you're ever on a team where you need to do things, you want the creative genius on your team because they will just help your team have really cool new ideas. But definitely creative geniuses are awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit about the word clever. So when we say someone is creative, we also mean that they're kind of smart, but we mean they're smart in the sense that they are very clever. So this person is probably thinking of creative ways to move the chess piece. The person is probably very clever. So I would say a person who is clever is really smart, but also really creative in how they solve problems. Hopefully that made sense. Sometimes a creative person is a dreamer. When you describe someone as a dreamer, it means that they are oftentimes not thinking about what's happening around them, but they're kind of thinking about things in their head. I had a friend who was a really good computer programmer, and he often was thinking about the next computer program he was going to write. He was a dreamer. He wasn't often aware. He sometimes forgot to eat lunch, because he was thinking and dreaming so much about what he was going to make that he forgot. So creative people, sometimes they're dreamers. When you need to be creative at work or at school, you might have to work with other people. You might be in a group or on a team, and you might need to think of some new ideas. You might need to come up with new ideas for how to sell something or how to do a presentation. And you might get together and brainstorm. When people brainstorm, it means they try to think of a lot of different ideas, one after the other, and then write them down. This is a great picture for this. I think these people are brainstorming right now. They have decided to brainstorm. They're writing each idea that someone thinks of on a little post-it note and putting it on the board. So they're not just trying to think of one way to do something. They're trying to think of many ways to do something, and then they'll decide which one is the best. Sometimes at work, we will have a meeting, and then I will be with people, and we have to brainstorm new ways to do things at school. We have to think of a bunch of different ideas, and then we give them to our boss, and he decides which one is best, but he just wants us to brainstorm. And you might also have a group of people that regularly gets together and brainstorms, regularly creatively comes up with new ideas, and we would call that a think tank. So this is usually used by government. Often the government will have a think tank, and that's a group of people that will think about solutions, creative solutions for certain problems. Sometimes you're looking for something to spark the imagination. So a spark is a little, like if you need a flame, you need a spark to get a little flame. When you light a match, there's a spark before there's a flame, a little flash of light. But you can also spark your imagination. Sometimes, like I said, my source of inspiration is walking in nature. I might see something that will spark my imagination. I might see a bird and the bird chirps, and that might spark my imagination to make an English lesson about the sounds animals make, for instance. I don't think I've ever done that lesson. I don't think I will either. Maybe we will. Maybe next Friday I'll do a lesson on animal sounds. No, I don't know. We'll see. But that right now, talking about that has sparked my imagination. You can see I'm starting to imagine what a lesson like that would be about. So some things will spark your imagination. That's always fun. So we have what's called Eureka or a Eureka Moment. So that's a moment where you have a problem and you're trying to think of creative ways to solve the problem. And then you think of a really good way to do it. You might even say Eureka. Not a lot of people do that, but you might call it a Eureka Moment. I think this comes from Euripides. I might have this wrong. I didn't look this up before the lesson. Let's look up source of Eureka, and I'll probably say the name. Comes from the ancient Greek word, meaning I have found it. The first person to use it, let's see, who was the first person to say Eureka? Doesn't say. Oh, Archimedes. Oh, I think I got it wrong. That's okay. This isn't a history lesson. But you might say Eureka, or you might have a Eureka moment when you think of a brand new idea or a way to do something. So just a couple of words to finish the lesson. Someone who isn't creative, you might say, is unimaginative. Uncreative is a word, but I don't think I've ever heard it used. You would say he's really unimaginative. He doesn't think of new ideas very often. He's very unimaginative. And then we have the word unoriginal. So when I was talking to you about students, looking at a picture and then trying to draw the same thing, I would say that's very unoriginal. It's very unimaginative. It's not very creative. You're not showing a lot of creativity when you simply copy something else. It's just really unoriginal. Sometimes a musician will make a new song and it sounds a little bit like someone else's song, and we would say it's very unoriginal. It's very similar to Taylor Swift's last song. It's very unoriginal. So unimaginative and unoriginal would be how we would describe someone who isn't creative, who doesn't have a lot of creativity. Again, I think it's correct to say the person is uncreative. It just doesn't sound normal to my ear. I don't think I've used the word uncreative. I would say he's really unoriginal. He's really unimaginative. So that's how I would describe that person. Not to their face, but because that would be kind of mean, wouldn't it, if you said that? Anyways, I think that's the end of the lesson. Hey, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here answering questions. I'm going to have a little sip of water before I do. And then when I'm done answering questions, I'm going to go to work. So give me a second here to get questions on the screen. I think there's quite a few left, actually. Let me burn through these as fast as possible. From Mikhailo. Hello, dear teacher Bob. What is the difference between draw and painting? Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Generally, when we say someone is drawing, they're probably using a pencil or markers. And when they're painting, they're using a paintbrush. So it's just a slightly different way of creating a visual a visual image. Essie says, hi, Bob. I had a strong imagination. I used to paint like a decade ago. Unfortunately, things changed. So did I. Things do change in life. Things that are sometimes outside of your control. But maybe it will be something you will rediscover later in life. Or maybe you'll find another way to be creative. I forgot to mention the phrase creative outlet. So my creative outlet is to make videos and to do a little bit of writing. Other people, their creative outlet is to paint. So sometimes when you're creative, you have to let the creativity out, and we call that a creative outlet. Natalia, I wonder if you do any creative activity like painting, writing, or playing an instrument. You seem too serious sometimes. Haha, am I right? I'm too busy sometimes. I am too serious sometimes. But yes, I definitely like to write. That would be what I like to do. You guys just haven't seen much of that. So, from Alec, hello, Mr. Bob the Canadian. It's been more than 3 years I've been listening to you. Very cool. Thanks for being around that long. How to describe the beach's activities? Well, people walk on the beach. They run on the beach. They go for a walk. They play volleyball on the beach. They they sunbathe on the beach, and they go for a swim. There you go. From Maurice, good at something versus creative at something. Do these two words have a similar meaning? So a few fixes, Maurice, on the second sentence. No, you can be good at something and not be creative. Okay, so if you learn to be a nurse, you can be good at being a nurse. When you're creative, you're thinking of new ways to do something. So it's more than being good at it. For sure. Okay, I'm skipping a few here because they're not on topic. Let's see here. From Amani, hello Bob, I follow you from Saudi Arabia. I wish you a happy time, and I think I find creativity in writing stories, and thank you. Yeah, writing is fun. It's a fun thing to do, for sure. I'm glad that you enjoy it as well. From Josephine, hello Teacher Bob. I just want to say I always watch all your videos on YouTube. It was amazing to watch. I learned a lot. Awesome. Thank you for watching. For sure. And then from Yao, hello Bob. My name is Yao from Brazil. What word is the opposite than one person who is creative? Than a person who is creative. I'm fixing things. I'm going too fast. I'll slow down. Unimaginative or unoriginal is how I would describe someone who's not creative. Let's skip the next one. I'm going to skip the next one. So from Pablo, hey Bob, awesome lesson. I'm from Brazil, and here we have a word very similar to ingenuity. Cool. How is it? I wonder how it's pronounced. I'll have to look it up after the lesson. Where are you from? Brazil. So Brazilian Portuguese. I'll have to look that up in Portuguese. Let's see here. So this is from Cyborg. Have you seen Aurora? So the northern lights are also called Aurora Borealis. Have you seen them? Yes. As a child, we could see them from my house sometimes. I haven't seen them in years. You have to go really far north. It's a dynamic pattern of lights in the sky, predominantly present in the Arctic regions. Looks like creative art. It's very cool. If you ever come to Canada, you need to go north and see the northern lights. Very, very fun. Sammy says, what does chronological mean? It means it goes in the order that it happened. If I was to describe yesterday in chronological order, I would say I woke up, I had breakfast, I went to work, I taught my classes, I came home. I would tell you what I did in the exact order that it happened. From Varvara, hi Bob, do you like creativity in meals? And how creative Canadian cuisine is? Thanks. Yes, we have a friend who is a chef. And every year we are invited to his house for a meal. And he It's very creative when he makes his meals. Definitely there can be creativity in cooking. I did not mention that during the lesson, but very, very true. BB says, do you dream to reach 1 billion subscribers on your modest channel? No, you know what I dream of is, I love having over 1 million subscribers. It does feel really good. But what's most important to me has always been thinking of lesson ideas that I know will help people. That is the most exciting part of doing this for me. So when I think of I should make a lesson on how to describe old things, it's not going to be like a lesson that gets millions of views, but I know it's going to be useful. So for me, the excitement in doing YouTube is number one, having the ideas and making the lessons. And then the second thing I just like doing live lessons. I like seeing people chat. I like saying hi to people when I do a live stream. So billion doesn't matter. I do like seeing my channel grow. That's fun. I do like seeing lots of people watch my videos. That is fun. But it's really about having a place where I can have ideas and then make lessons out of them. That's really what it's all about. So Freddie says, hi, Bob. I don't have any other questions, but if you don't mind, I just have to... Though big thoughts of the Royal Highness from Britain who has unfortunately disappeared. Yes, so the Queen passed away yesterday. For me, it's just very, very sad. If you think about life, everything in life changes. But one of the only things that never changes, there was always a queen, and now there isn't. So now there's a king. So I haven't really thought a lot more about it, Freddie, but that was one thing I thought. I thought is very sad, but at the same time, it was very cool. By the way, I don't want to explain the monarchy in Canada here because I'll get it wrong, but it is sad, I think. So I wish the royal family well as they go through the next few days. Let's see here. It says, Volodia says, Albert Einstein was a scientist and visionary. He came up with Eureka. I'm not sure if the internet agrees with that, but you guys can argue about that later. Dorian says, hello, my best teacher, Bob, in the whole YouTube. Thank you. Just wanted to say how I love your lessons. Thank you so much for your hard work. You are welcome, Dorian. And I think that is the last comment as well. So we are done, everybody. By the way, if you're one of the 469 people who are watching, don't forget to click the subscribe button. I realized I left my water jugs there and I still didn't get rid of this old printer, and there's a pillow laying on the floor here and the seat from my van upside down because I didn't clean my room before I did this lesson. I should make sure next time that I do that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. This video will come out in a shorter version in a couple days. If you don't know about that, you should know about that. It is great to re-watch this lesson. It'll be about 25 minutes long, probably, maybe even a bit shorter this week. It will help you remember what you've learned. Repetition is always good. So watch it again, or listen to it while you're doing dishes, or listen to it while you go for a walk. Listen to it in the background while you're doing some work. But it's just a good idea. Number two, there will be a new lesson on Tuesday. It's about describing things that are old. And I'm going to show you different things on my farm that are old. So I think you'll enjoy it. And I think it'll be a good lesson. What else was I going to say? Oh, I generally reply to some comments on every Tuesday video and on my short videos. I haven't been doing that because I've been busy, but I will slowly get back into that as things settle down and I get back into a routine. Bye, Lolly, Noriko, Leah, Yaroslav, Vitor, Leticia, Wanda, Modags, Naomi, Key Park, John Wedge, Ruslan, Ricardo. Thanks, Dave, for moderating once again. Audie. Things are going fast here. Beth, I think I said Ruslan already. Ricardo, Natalia, good to see you. Bye to everybody. Bye, Cecilia. I'm going to start saying names twice again. Bye, Michaelo. And thank you to those of you who have been around for so long, members or not members. It's kind of cool to hear when people have been watching my videos for a couple years or 3 years. I'm honored. So thank you very much for doing that. That's pretty cool. Bye, Maria C, Paco-san. The other Ricardo, there's more than one Ricardo. Bye to Dorian. Thanks for the last comment, Dorian. Bye to all of you. I'm going to hit the end button in just a sec. Bye to Renata, Williams, Korean class. I think I need my reading glasses. I can't read all the names. Anyways, have a good weekend. Have a good Friday. Try to do something that sparks your imagination, that sparks your creativity. Try to do something where you just feel relaxed and you can have cool new ideas about things. Anyways, I love doing this and it's a lot of fun. So thanks for joining me every week. Bye. I'm going to have a sip of water and hit the end button. My earbuds are all tangled in my